This is Pod Populi, podcast for the people.
Hey there, and welcome to the Cinnamon Effect podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Hand, and I'm thrilled to have you with me on this vibrant journey of discovery and growth. This podcast is your go-to space for embracing intention, where you'll find clarity on your unique path, deepen those meaningful connections, and unleash your creativity like never before. We'll explore how to build unshakable confidence and celebrate the beauty of gratitude, all while savoring the calm that consistency brings to our lives. Thank you for being with me. Let's sprinkle a little cinnamon into your day and make life sweeter, healthier, and more fulfilling. Welcome back to the Cinnamon Effect. I'm Kimberly Hand, and today I'm here with Dr. Monica Shah. Dr. Shah is certified in board certified in rheumatology and internal medicine, and is also, you've traveled the world on mission trips over the last decade where you've helped set up various medical clinics all over the world. And you were actually a model too, Dr. Shah. We're going to get into that later, but I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on the Cinnamon Effect.
Thanks for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here.
And we have to mention Dr. Shah is having a little construction at her home right now. So there could be, you may hear a saw happening and just, we're going to roll with that.
Yeah, this disclaimer in case you hear some drilling in the back.
This is real life, you know, this is real life things.
This is my other office. So yeah.
Yes. And it's beautiful too, by the way. So I want you to kind of break down what rheumatology is for us. Let's start there in the basics.
Yeah. So a rheumatologist is a doctor that's specialized to treat autoimmune diseases that affect joints, muscles, bones, and it can also be more complex than that and start affecting other organs. Now, we treat over 100 different conditions, ranging from rheumatoid arthritis to osteoporosis to osteoarthritis. And, you know, people think rheumatology, they think this is a case for the elderly or a doctor maybe only the elderly see. But honestly speaking, I see patients as young as 15 all the way beyond the 90s. So this class of medicine encompasses several age demographics.
Wow, 15 to 90. So take us through like what your typical patient is if you had to profile them.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it varies on the range and we talked about there being 100 different conditions. So these types of autoimmune conditions present differently for different patient demographics. But generally speaking, some patients come in with fatigue. They can come in with joint pain or joint swelling that's caused restrictions in their abilities to conduct, you know, their basic daily activities every day. Some people get rashes that they can't explain that can be there for, you know, weeks to months. They can get sores in their mouth. They can get hair loss. They can get fluid around their heart. I mean, the scope is very, very broad here. But a lot of patients, you know, what they can be tangible or they can explain to me is, hey, Dr. Shah, I really don't feel like myself. I'm tired constantly. I used to have all this energy. I'm not able to function the same that I did before. And that may stem from generalized fatigue. That can stem from, hey, my knees and my hands swell up and I can't make a fist or I can't hold my baby. So it can vary per patient, but generally speaking, those are the most tangible symptoms that patients come into us for.
So I feel like, you know, a lot of women listening are probably like, I'm very tired all the time. Like I have this fatigue. So when does it go from being just something that, you know, maybe our hormones are off or we're busy moms to something that is more severe? Like how would you describe, I guess, when someone should really take it to that next level and seek a rheumatologist or someone like you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's not a linear answer. A lot of people come in and they say, I'm fatigued. And they're like, what's the cause? Can you help me? And I wish I had a linear answer. So the first thing, I think if you're a listener or a viewer and you're asking yourself, well, what introspection should I do? I think my first thing is questioning the patient. How are your sleep habits? What is your sleep hygiene? Are you getting quality sleep? 7 to 9 hours is the general recommendation. So, you know, some people can go with 7, some people need 9, but knowing that that's generally what's recommended? And is it consistent sleep? Are you waking up quite frequently? What's waking you up? Is it your brain? Is it your body? So these are some questions that you should be asking yourself in terms of quality of sleep. Then it goes to, well, what are you eating? What are you putting in your body? Are certain foods you're eating making you feel more tired after you have certain meals? Reflect on how you feel. Do you feel more tired or lethargic after having certain types of foods? Is it the environment that you're in? Some people describe, when I'm in certain work environments, I'm completely drawn out. And when I get home and I reset and over the weekend, I feel more like myself. So these are little clues that help us as physicians. But really, those are the first questions you should be asking yourself as a potential patient. Now, if it's really not tangible, you're like, I've done elimination diets and I've really tracked and I'm doing all that I can, knowing that it's what I know to be best for my body and myself. Then it really comes down to us to look into this with more blood work. And blood work as a rheumatologist, I always tell my patients, is never diagnostic. I use the blood work as a clue to help me guide what we may necessarily need to order more or look into a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can range, it's like I said, there is no linear answer here, but it can range from sleep habits to foods to, lack of physical activity or almost too much physical activity. It can lead to vitamin deficiencies, thyroid abnormalities. I mean, the scope is very broad here, but it's those clues that patients pick up on that help us kind of hone in on, okay, maybe we should be ordering these labs or looking into this a little bit further.
Is it typically the route to get to you? Is it obviously like a primary care or functional medicine practitioner or something like that? And then they kind of guide to you if markers show that there's different. Because I was telling you, I think I had a borderline rheumatoid arthritis marker in some blood work.
Yeah.
That has not really been addressed, since then. But
yeah, I mean, it really does start with the primary. That is, I say that you're gatekeeper of your health. And those are the doctors you're seeing more frequently. And those are the doctors that you tell most of your complaints to or concerns about. They start that blood work or they start that workup for us. And there may be more that needs to be looked into or ordered. But a lot of times I've seen patients that say, hey, my doctor really hasn't addressed this. Can we kind of go down and talk about this a little bit more? So primary care is most likely our first, step into seeing a rheumatologist. But oftentimes I am the first person conducting the workup. So it doesn't have to be through the primary, but we hope that we have some guidance from them.
Interesting. So can you talk about some of the different rheumatoid arthritis, lupus? What are some of the other, like maybe the more common ones that maybe we've heard about that you treat?
Yeah, so rheumatoid arthritis and lupus are definitely the most well-known in the rheumatic space for autoimmune diseases. We also treat osteoporosis. We treat psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. We treat gout. We treat Sjogren's disease, which is a dry eyes, dry mouth autoimmune condition. And we treat osteoarthritis, which is the more mechanical wear and tear arthritis that we're all going to naturally get, being present on this earth and living life per usual. So we treat not only the autoimmune types of arthritis and inflammatory arthritis, but we also treat osteoarthritis and osteoporosis, which aren't necessarily autoimmune conditions, but can also impact the bone and joints.
How does perimenopause or menopause affect? Do you see maybe more of the blood work changes or these markers change around this time? I know you see young patients too, but do you notice that has an effect on the surgence of a rheumatic disease?
I definitely think, here they go again.
There you go.
You have to hear me. But interestingly enough, that's typically my most common demographic of new patients is in that 40s to 50s range. Because a lot of changes are happening with their bodies secondary to hormonal changes. But that's oftentimes what the trigger is for feeling a little bit more fatigued or having a little bit more joint pain or weight gain or abdominal pain. So it is oftentimes a resurgence of a lot of new symptoms for patients, which brings them into our doors as well. So it's definitely important to keep that in mind. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a trigger for autoimmune disease, but it definitely is a surgence of new symptoms that often we try to rule out autoimmune diseases or see if they could be correlated to certain ones.
Mm-hmm. And, with supplementation, is there a lot that you can do with supplementation? And maybe talk like supplementation versus actual medication and when you would have to make that change.
So I am really, really big on practicing lifestyle changes, holistic health. And that I give that to every patient. I give that knowledge and foundation to every patient because that's what patients themselves can do at home, taking the right supplements, eating the right nutritious foods. That's the best way to control the brunt of their symptoms to the best of their own abilities. And then we have medications that we deep dive into depending on the actual diagnosis at hand. But at baseline, all patients can benefit from supplements. Vitamin D can help our bone and joints. Calcium helps our bone and joints. Turmeric, I'm a big passionate believer in turmeric. There's done numerous amounts of research on the benefits of turmeric supplementation. In fact, because people always ask, well, how do I implement turmeric into my diet? And the best way to get the allocated necessary amount is through a capsule.
Okay.
It's to cook with. I mean, if you cook with it, it's not going to hurt you by sprinkling in a little bit more in your foods if you like it, or teas and whatnot. But the best way to ensure that you're getting the adequate amount is through capsules, which you can pick up at a local health food store.
Is there a brand that you like of turmeric?
Yeah, so there's two different brands I like. Not a promotional plug whatsoever, just brands that I do like. Fusionary Formula has a great medically studied turmeric. They've looked at it in orthopedic patients and rheumatic patients and cancer patients, and they found that increasing turmeric supplementation or even implementing will actually decrease your inflammatory markers. And so there are studies that have done by the University of South Carolina that looked at patients on turmeric and tracked their inflammatory markers and seen that those have improved over time. They had better physical functioning. They feel better. So it is working on the same pathway. If you look into it, it works on the same pathway as Advil or Aleve, but without the side effects. So now you're implementing a natural anti-inflammatory. I call it God's anti-inflammatory. It's been around
I love that.
For decades and centuries. And there's a reason it's still around, and it's almost becoming more prevalent, more discussed. There's in face masks and, teas and all the types of things. You can get turmeric in any which formula now, but it's really becoming quite the hype, and the hype is worth it. So there's been studies on that. Omega-3 fatty acids, great to implement, decreasing the inflammatory burden on the body and increasing the right sorts of short-chain fatty acids that we need. So there's a lot of good health benefits with the foods and supplements we take. And that's what I need and I want patients to understand. Even if they do or don't have an autoimmune disease, this is something every patient can benefit from.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Should everyone, because that's one that I've actually never taken. I love those golden lattes because I don't do any caffeine, but I love just like the coconut milk with the turmeric and black pepper and the pepper helps it. I've heard to
it helps it absorb.
I guess be absorbed.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at any supplement, there's even a Costco brand called U-Theory that's wonderful. So there's cost-effective options. The most expensive doesn't mean the best quality. And that's what's important to understand. When you look at the bottle, you're deciding on a turmeric supplement, the first ingredient should be curcumin. That is the bioactive ingredient of turmeric. And then you should have the next ingredient be black pepper, and that's for absorption purposes. So if you can at least find those two things as the first two ingredients on the list, I think you have a solid supplement. And then the other half of it is making sure you tolerate it. A lot of patients can get some gastrointestinal side effects, nausea, diarrhea. And if that's the case, obviously backing off and making sure that, you can get a little bit in your system, but it may be throughout, instead of taking all three together, you can space it out throughout the day or space it out throughout the week. But it's important to bring this up to your primary care provider, health provider, knowing that, ensuring that with all your other medications, this supplement is still, something that they should be taking.
Yeah. It seems like an easy one to integrate though, for the most part. Yeah.
No, it's the golden glow is what they say. So you glow in from the inside out.
Yeah. Well, you glow, Dr. Shah.
3 times a day. There you go.
Is that so? Could you also take it? Because you said it kind of has like the same properties as Advil. If you were experiencing more pain, could you take it like in that way?
It works best if taken consistently.
Okay.
3 every day or 2 every day, whatever your allocated amount is on the bottle. That's the way it works best because think about it, vitamins and natural supplements take time to actually bring in that anti-inflammatory effect. It's not as instantaneous as taking an Advil, but I have had numerous amounts of patients that are averse to taking anti-inflammatories or not wanting to introduce medications, as frequently into their systems, which is totally reasonable. And I think speaks to a lot of patients out there where like, I really don't like taking these things or it upsets my stomach or I shouldn't be on them for various reasons. This is something that patients of mine have introduced with great success. They feel better. They're more energetic and their pain's much less. And I think that speaks for itself, but it does take time for it to work. So I wouldn't get discouraged.
Okay.
I say take anything for 3 to 6 months and you should start noticing the benefits in time.
Okay. I like that. I'm one of those people like, I will not take an Advil.
And I get it. It's up there. It's okay. Like, I also tell my patients, if we look at their blood work and organ wise, things are safe and they're, looking at their med list, there's someone that could be amenable to taking an Advil if they needed to. It's okay to take those types of rescue meds in certain instances, but I completely, understand and respect those patients that are like, listen, give me the natural way of going about it. And I am all on board. If I can support that, I will 100%. But I'm also realistic. And if there are certain patients that definitely need more medication and immune modulating medications, we will talk about that and introduce that as well.
What about like peptides? Do you use a lot of peptides in what you do? Or
in our clinical practice, I know it's becoming a kind of the new wave of what other med alternatives are there to be offered. And there are great health benefits to peptides. There's actually great research done on the GLP-1 medications like Mounjaro, Ozempic, for patients that have obesity, diabetes, and inflammatory arthritis or autoimmune disease. And those have shown benefit, synergistically to help, again, decrease that inflammatory burden. Weight loss helps regulate joint pains. So there's benefits in all these alternatives that are out there. And peptides being one of them, of course, GLP-1 being more medication based. But again, there are different medication supplements or alternatives that we've used synergistically to really kind of boost that wellness effect.
What are some dietary things that you tell your patients really that they need to stay away from? Is there anything that you talk about with them that you're just like,
it's such a hard conversation because I'm always like, I feel like the bearer of bad news where I'm like, don't have fun. I like to keep the 80-20 rule where it's, if you're eating well for your body 80% of the time, then it's definitely okay to enjoy those moments in life that, you want to celebrate with friends and family in the holidays, or different events. But, inflammation comes from high trans fats foods. So fried foods, canned foods, frozen foods, high sodium levels. So frozen drinks, high sugar. So anything, ice cream, donuts. It's everything. It's not, I try to make it as simple as possible. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that donut looks incredible. It's probably not great for me. Probably isn't great for you. So, there's just we can simplify it a lot. And those are the best ways I think about it with patients is if it's super convenient, a frozen meal to put in the microwave. Yes, there's lean cuisine and all different types of things, but I think the fact that it is frozen, there's a lot of additives in there to keep it healthy or to keep it edible frozen. So you want to go for the more natural whole food route. You want to cook your foods. You want to get those lean meats, avoiding red meats as best as possible. There's a high heme burden in there, which is a high inflammatory response. So there's different foods that have been looked at that are pro-inflammatory. And that's just the general paradigm of types of foods that I talk to patients about. But the main thing being with patients is I tell them really keep track of your symptoms and how you feel after eating. Because patients say, oh, I noticed like every time I have pasta or I go out to a nice Italian restaurant, like the food was amazing, but I really just don't feel great for the next day or two. And I don't feel more lethargic or my joints swell more. Those are just clues that your body doesn't necessarily agree with these types of foods. And it's the most simple test to be done that doesn't require, money. It's being in tune with your body, which I think most patients forget about sometimes. And it's the easiest test to do, being very in tune with how you feel after eating certain foods. And again, it's not necessarily saying you have an allergy, but maybe just an intolerance.
And how long does that inflammation? So I heard like, okay, say you eat, so I'm gluten-free and say I eat a big bowl of pasta, right? And I become inflamed, bloated. I have rashes sometimes. Like it definitely affects me.
Yeah.
So how long does that inflammation kind of affect your body after you do something like that? Because I feel like, yes, I want to be able to live a little, but I also want to know if I'm choosing to do that, how am I affecting my body, weeks down the road or even months down the road?
So a little bit is not going to be enough to start the whole fire, is what I like to say. So continually eating foods that don't agree with your body or don't agree with your skin or your abdomen or your GI tract, I should say, is clue enough that if you're being consistent with it, that's really what's going to like light the match over time and then start the slow brewing fire, is what I like to call it. So it's almost like a campfire and not a wildfire. And so if you think about it like that, it's like a slow brewing fire. So if you do it often enough, you're going to start triggering this, campfire, if you will, that eventually will take over and show itself in various ways. For some patients, if it's often enough that they're indulging or knowing that, hey, I'm probably not going to feel great, but I'm going to do it, or don't have a choice. Maybe they're just traveling for work and this is all that's present or available. You just knowing that, okay, well, I just kind of like started lighting the match, but it's often enough, it can build up the fire. So how long patients may suffer is variable depending on how often they indulge. But that can show itself with, like you just mentioned, bloating or skin changes or joint pains. For some people, it's within hours, of eating their meal, and it may take, days to weeks to kind of turn the corner again. So really, you start to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yes. Is it worth it? That's what I do every time I'm about to be bad. I'm like, is this worth it? Is it worth the calories? Is it worth what I'm going to go through?
Yeah.
And the one food that you mentioned, the ice cream, that is my like weakness. I feel I gotta cut it out of my life. But
I mean, it's great that now there's so many like mindful, restaurants and health food blogs about health alternatives or food alternatives when you have certain conditions of, hey, these are probably best ways to, still enjoy pizza and be gluten-free. And, so I think it's just being very mindful of your body and its responses to certain foods. For some people that don't know, exactly what their triggers may be, I ask them to do an elimination diet for up to 30 days. But just choosing one thing, whether that's like, okay, well, this is the month that I'm going to cut out gluten, or this is the month I'm going to cut out like refined sugars, adding in sugars. There's natural sugars in fruits and such, but add it, I'm not going to add sugar in my coffee, or I'm not going to have those desserts this month. And really being in tune of, okay, well, how does my body respond? And again, it takes time, and which is why I say 30 days.
Okay.
So these are little things that patients, if you haven't done and you're listening, these are easy things you can do on your own to say, well, maybe I can help myself and I don't need to subject myself to more meds or such. And if you've done those things, we as physicians are here to help guide the rest of, that health course for you and health journey. But these are often the questions I ask my patients. Well, what have you noticed on your own throughout this time?
How does exercise come into play? So I can imagine someone is feeling, joint pain and it hurts to move. So how do you kind of guide them through that? Or what do you suggest for them to do?
Yeah. So to everyone listening, movement is good for your body. Even if you're in pain, it's realizing what movements you are able to. Oh, wow. They're really going to it right now. My apologies. But movement is key. Movement is it's like the lubrication for our joints. So if we think about it, if we're not moving our joints, we're more predisposed to getting frozen shoulder or arthritis in certain places, physical deconditioning, weakness, increasing risk of falls and injuries. So there's a whole, it's like a whole domino effect from not moving. And the general recommendation is anywhere between 150 to 300 minutes a week, however you want to divide that up. But being really in tune, again, with your body, there's a lot of introspection involved when you have joint pain, autoimmune disease. I always tell my patients to reflect in what are the movements that you feel like you can do safely, that you feel you can consistently. It does not have to be high impact. That is the main thing, the myth I like to debunk. People automatically relate exercise to something high intensity or running on a treadmill, jumping jacks, whatever it may be. It does not have to be high intensity. It's really working within the space of how your body feels. Water aerobics is great. Yoga is great. Going on walks with some hand weights or wrist weights that you strap on. So it's like hands free. Those are gentle ways to move your body within reason. And over time, it becomes a little bit easier. If you're trying something new for the first time, I always let my patients know you may do it for 15 minutes consistently, and then you may have to sit down and take a break or rest, and that's okay. Please be mindful of your body. Listen to your body. And then once you feel like you've recouped, going back and completing the extra 15 minutes. And over time, things just get a little bit easier. You start to have a routine a little bit. But low impact is still movement. Mm-hmm. And that's important to realize. And it does not have to be every day. You almost don't want it to be every day. You can do 3 to 4 days a week. So you give your body, your muscles, your joints time to recoup and build up that strength again for the next round.
Do you have patients that have made diet lifestyle changes that have almost, I don't want to say gotten rid of, I don't know what the right term is, like see a complete resolution in their autoimmune condition?
It has substantially benefited my patients in general. I will say that. Now, some patients still require medication, but it has lessened the amount of medication that they take. For some people, yes, they've nearly gotten off all meds, depending on their, underlying condition, but their physical well-being has overall improved. They feel better. They feel like they can go out and move and live their life and be with their family and still be a functional part of society. I think the main thing is we want to give people quality of life. And I want to do everything in my power to give you that quality of life. And it is a multifactorial, plan and journey here. We use physical therapists involved. We get orthopedics, we get your primary involved. Maybe you see a gastroenterologist. It's a collaborative event here with rheumatology. I don't really run the show alone, but I give every patient what they deserve, which is the knowledge of what they can do on their own. And oftentimes, if they are, committed to that enough, and they are consistent, they reap the benefits, which I think speaks for itself. And the data and the science speak for itself. So these aren't just fluff things we like to say, it sounds right, so we'll tell you about it. But these are things, we're very science and data driven people. There is science and data to back movement and lifestyle changes and supplements. So we like to speak on that.
Just an interesting question. Do you see in your patients that they have purpose in their life and maybe more of a positive mindset? Do you see that having a positive effect on how they recover?
Absolutely.
Do you notice that at all? Yeah.
Mindset's half the battle. It's preparing your mind to say, hey, this is what I'm going to commit to doing for myself and my body. And I vow to respect my body. And these are the changes that I want to make. And once they see it, a part of it is I can tell you all you need to know, but the other part of it is you have to believe that you are capable of doing that and making those changes. I wish I could, offer and be the person to eat all the right foods for you and get you out there walking with your friends. But I think the knowledge base enough of what the power of lifestyle and diet can do on your own and movement. Once they feel those effects, I think it's so powerful. And then they speak to their friends and family, and all of a sudden it's this big community of people that champion together to do their best for themselves. And that's what our ultimate goal is as rheumatologists is, yes, we diagnose the zebras and the really hard stuff. And we have a lot to offer in terms of in our medical space. But for me personally speaking, as a rheumatologist, I'm a big, passionate believer in what the patient can do for themselves as well.
How would you treat, you said you have 15-year-old patients. So a 15-year-old comes in, so maybe they're diagnosed with lupus or something like that. How do you address all of these diet, lifestyle, sleep? They're teenagers. Like, how would you adjust your approach for that type of patient?
It's more or less the same approach. It's just piecemealed a little bit. It's hard to digest. First of all, accepting that you may have an autoimmune condition or you've been diagnosed with one. And this is a chronic condition. Unfortunately, we don't have cures for these things, but we definitely have treatments available to put patients into remission is what we call it, which means that the disease is still present, but it's not active. You're not feeling the effects of it. You're not suffering from it. So we have the capabilities and the modalities to be able to provide that to patients. But again, this is a similar conversation for every patient, autoimmune disease or not. It's just now, we digest it a little bit slower and we talk about it every visit. It's just a little bit at a time. And, thankfully, fortunately, a lot of these people have family support and parents are present to hold the patient accountable. But a lot of it is, again, educating you what you may already know and re-educating based on that or introducing things that you may not know and valuing its importance.
And, with autoimmune, I always have been told it's kind of like your threat bucket is becoming more full of like toxic overload or possibly emotional trauma and maybe it's the perfect storm and this is how it kind of comes out. How do you see how trauma or toxicity would come into play with what you do in the patients that you see?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, 80% of autoimmune diseases are affecting women. So there is a female predominance in my space or in general autoimmune diseases. And the reason being there is a societal and cultural effect on that. And it's just the amount of responsibility that females carry to take care of themselves, to represent themselves appropriately in the workspace, with their family, with their friends, to be mothers and caregivers and, housewives and running the house, but also, starting to be part of society and running the show at work. And so there's a lot of hats that women wear that are often put aside and saying, oh, well, this is what women do, which makes us, I think, like superhuman in some way and wonderful. But a lot of that puts us at increased risk because we're suppressing a lot of our emotions. We're dealing with a lot of chronic stress. We have a lot of responsibilities. It's affecting our quality of sleep or how much sleep we get. It's like, well, let me take care of the other people in our family and you're the last to eat or you're just eating the scrap. So we hold a lot of regard for our loved ones and our work and our careers and our children. And we often find ourselves not taking care of us. And that is a predisposition in itself for why women are more affected or strongly affected by autoimmune disease. So I think that plays a huge part in it. It's often not talked about enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for addressing that because we are carrying this load, and that's such a common thread through so many conversations that I have. So I'm glad that you addressed that. And so would you say that sleep, if you are talking to a female, sleep is number one? You're really addressing their sleep habits.
Absolutely. I talk about sleep with every patient that comes in for fatigue. That's the first thing to look at. Sleep is what our body needs sleep. There's a lot of, you only need 5 hours of sleep. we may need 9 hours of sleep, and that's okay. Everyone's body's functions a little bit different and operates at a different battery level. But sleep itself is the most, forefront of what we should be talking about in terms of overall well-being. It helps with our mental clarity. It helps with weight loss. It helps with energy, all things. And that kind of transpires into how do we conduct our daily lives and how functional are we the next day? How much are we able to get done? And so that really has a place in multiple organ involvements, including weight loss. I mean, sleep is an avid proponent of weight loss. I mean, sleep literally leads to weight loss.
Yeah. What made you want to be a rheumatologist?
So it was a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing for me was how niche I could be with what I'm treating, but the longevity of care that I would be having with my patient. So the patient-doctor relationship for me is lifelong. I'm not the ER physician that diagnoses you and says, okay, well, you got to go see somebody else, or, we're going to transport you and you're going to, someone else is going to take care of you. I'm taking care of you forever. That's what I love. Part of this is watching my dad grow up and develop these strong relationships with his patients. And that's the type of effect I wanted to have with mine. Is we're going to.
Dad is a rheumatologist.
He's not. He's actually internal medicine.
Oh, okay.
I found a way to still have that relationship, but still be very hyper focused in what I could do to help patients. Because I wanted to provide diagnosis, but I wanted to provide care, and I wanted to provide treatments, and I want to provide solutions. And I'm not saying that that specialty didn't do that, but I loved where rheumatology was going in that space. I loved the medical advances in rheumatology. It's one of the most booming subspecialties in medicine. I mean, we have new medication options almost monthly and yearly. So it's a booming space where we have solutions and answers for patients, but it's also very thought-provoking. We're inquisitive. Some people call us we're like Dr. House in some ways, where everyone's like, well, these are all the random symptoms nobody else can figure out. So we've come to you.
Yeah.
Thinking hat on. And it's a lot of follow-ups and a lot of questioning, and things change over time, and we change with the patient. So it's like a journey that I greatly am passionate about.
I love that. Now, you traveled the world helping to open up medical clinics. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So my passion for, medicine started in college. My dad took me on a mission trip to Honduras, and that was the beginning of my experience in the impact that healthcare provided to patients. And this was in a rural third world country where, the nearest hospital was maybe hours away, and none of these patients or people had cars or resources to travel to get that medical attention. So we brought it to them, and seeing just their amount of gratitude for the simple solutions that we were able to provide for them and offerings we had for them was profound to me. And I wanted to have that impact with patients. And so that was just the first experience I had. And then we went to India, got to several other countries, third world, rural countries, intentionally to be able to seek, medical attention to these patients that really need it.
Wow. And you wear multiple hats. And I found this very interesting about you, that you are a model and a doctor. And I think this is so interesting because it just shows that if you have a passion for multiple things, even though they're being as amazing as a physician, that you can also do something else that maybe you're passionate about too, that's completely different.
Yeah,
right? So
I say you can't put a woman in a box, because we will just break it and find other things to do with our lives. And we have many different interests, and we're complicated in the best ways possible. And so this actually happened while I was in med school. My friends were like, hey, we're going to do this for fun. And I was like, okay, sure. And I think at that point I was just more like, hey, let's do something out of our comfort zone. Like, worst case scenario, you had the best time with your, you don't win, and I wasn't there to win. But there was a lot of best case scenarios. Like, hey, you had the greatest time with your friends and you did something out of your comfort zone. Like, you have nothing to lose. And so I was like, okay, let's sign up. Let's do it. And I'm one of those people that now that I'm committed to it, I'm 100% in. So I didn't just like, oh, let me just skirt along. I committed myself. My mom, all of a sudden, is a pageant mom. Like she wore that hat real fast. And so, I put my full into everything that I do. And so I went in, with just the best effort, and I ended up winning, this pageant in Florida. And it was an Indian pageant. So it was Miss India, Florida. And so I won that while I was in med school, not knowing that the next step would be like, now you got to go to like the nationals, right? Like there's a USA branch. And I'm like, I'm in med school. Like, how do I do this now? Like, who do I tell that I need time off to go to a beauty pageant? So I wasn't mentally prepared for that next step because I was just in it to have some fun. But it opened up. So I got first runner up in the New York, the USA pageant. And that just kind of opened the door for all of these other great life opportunities. And all the while I still stayed in med school, dedicated to my career, but I just found it one of those like unexpected surprises.
And I love that you like leaned into that, beauty and brains. Why not?
It's like that term's, thrown around a lot. And I think what makes this beautiful in itself is just how it all happened, just organically, with just the purest of intentions. Like I'm not wearing high heels, like, and my hair is not done every day, so we're roughing it on the real deal. Just something, I leaned into with the support of my friends and family, and I just had a great time doing it. So I still lean into a little bit here. I still do, modeling on the side. But this is
where could we see you? I feel like where could we see your face that we?
Well, New York Fashion Week is coming up in September, so they're next. And
wait, where?
New York Fashion Week.
Oh, New York Fashion Week. Oh my gosh. Are you walking for a specific designer?
Yeah. So she's a designer that's coming out, like a South Asian designer that's coming on. There's like a South Asian branch of New York Fashion Week in the same weekend.
Wow.
And so she's coming out with a brand new line, that I'm really excited for. So I'll be there.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. How tall are you?
I'm 5'7". So I'm actually I'm not like, you think about runway models and like 5'10". So I've done a lot of like print stuff. But this will be my first time on like an actual runway. But I think what's beautiful about like being, part of the South Asian culture is that we're all, and I think a lot of, this world, I should say, of modeling is leaning into like all different body types and, ranges of beauty and sizes of beauty. And so I think, short, tall, big, large, small, anything really, it's just beauty is in so many different forms. And so I think this is a great way to recognize that you don't have to be the skinniest or the tallest person in the room. Like you can still emit a lot of beauty.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the modeling kind of do for you that the medicine doesn't, or vice versa? Like
it really helps me get out of my wall of structured thinking. I think it allows me to be more creative with myself. Medicine is a lot of data science driven, methodical thinking about what's the next best plan for patients. So it's a lot of exhaustion internally because I'm like playing, okay, well, this patient did this and we should go here next. So it's a lot of sequential thinking in my head. And then modeling is quite the opposite, where they're just like, be yourself and do what feels comfortable for you and wear the dress. So it's the complete opposite in so many ways. And then it's, it never hurts to get your hair and makeup done.
Yeah, that always feels good, right?
Everyone wants to feel a little glamorous here and there.
And be feminine and lean into that feminine energy. Like it's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so much fun to me. I never want to let go of it. So I try to hold on to it whenever I can and the time is appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Now I'm going to put you on the spot because we need to know, you've got to give us some, maybe some of your morning routine products that you use. Is there anything that you're doing like religiously or that you're into as far as self-care or beauty? Give us what you got.
Okay. So sleep is one thing. I prioritize sleep. Like I preached this whole time. Sleep is number one for me. I don't feel or look nearly as like I feel good. So that really is a big thing for me. I'm trying to journal and meditate. I should say I should get better about that, but that's something I'm trying to lean into a little bit more. in regards to that. I exercise. I move my body 4 to 5 times a week. I'm doing, mostly weight training, but I'm walking. I'm trying to get into Pilates. Like, I just want to move my body in various ways to strengthen, to tone, to lean, to everything, to feel stronger. So I've been doing that, supplements. Creatine's really good for muscle recovery. Been implementing that. But every morning I start my morning with hot water with turmeric, lemon, and honey. Every morning. And it helps the GI system start revving up. It helps kind of remove toxins. I add a little sea salt in there. So it really helps me to kind of start my day right.
How much turmeric are you putting in the hot water?
I just put like a teaspoon of turmeric. I eyeball it in the morning. I'm still taking 3 supplements of turmeric every morning. So I do my turmeric water, 3 supplements of turmeric, a vitamin D, and a vitamin C.
Okay. I like that. The turmeric is definitely going in my diet. In my routine.
It's sometimes it's a little arduous. You're like 3 more, you already take, if you're maybe on other supplements or medications, with 3 more. But it's significantly helped me feel better. I rarely ever need, a Tylenol or an Advil, if that. So those are, movement, sleep, taking the right supplements. And then face routine. I never go to sleep with makeup on ever. I don't wear makeup every day either. So I just go, bare face to work and just be there present for my patients. But yeah, makeup is not an everyday part of my routine, but if I do, I'm never washing my face every night, every single. And then I started, I start using my Omnilux, contour LED light for wrinkle collagen production. That's my every night staple. So every morning I'm doing my water, my supplements. Every night I'm doing my LED face mask, washing my face. And then I'm getting my 7 to 9, mostly 7, but 7 to 9 hours if I can.
Yeah. I think simple things, but consistency will pay off. Yep.
And then, I have a lot of derm colleagues and I'm getting ready for a wedding. And so everyone's like, skin health is big. And a lot of times it's what we're putting in our body, water, drinking enough water. All this is what we can do on our own. And then, to boost collagen production, people are using collagen supplements, but then there's microneedling, there's, lasers and peels and all these different types of things that aren't necessary, but are there. So it doesn't have to break the bank. And I really haven't broken the bank with the things that I've done, and which I think is what anyone can implement.
Yes. Totally agree with you.
It's expensive to look good.
Yeah. I remember when I was preparing for my wedding, which was 15 years ago, actually next week. So it's been a long time.
That's great.
Thanks. Yeah. Hard to believe we've been together 21 years, but married 15.
Wow, that's great.
It's been a long time, but, we weren't doing this. Like, I barely wore makeup at my wedding. It was like, there wasn't this preparation. I wish back then that I was doing that and working on that like glow up, but I was not even aware.
I mean, 5 years ago, I would have never known about, it's like we have more resources and more ways to go about things with every month and every year that goes by. I mean, it can feel overwhelming. I mean, sometimes I'm overwhelmed with like, well, what should I do next? Like, do I need to do any of these things? I mean, there's a lot of offerings out there, and it's easy to get persuaded by advertisements and what people are doing on social media. But these are the simple things that have worked for me. And I always tell my patients, this is what's been researched and studied. So why not do what actually will work?
Yes. Are you going to try like a microneedling or anything like that?
I'm actually going to go visit a doctor friend of mine that specializes in that stuff, just to get some insight, right? I mean, I'm sure there's, again, 100 things that can be offered. I just like what's necessary to kind of help, boost that collagen production. What is good for maintenance, really? I'm not even kind of just, okay, yeah, we're preparing for a wedding, but also what can I be doing yearly? What maintenance should be done yearly in your 30s or 20s or however old you may be. But it may be good to just get some information like once a year you should be doing this and this, and that'll help sustain your skin health over time. And I'm not the one to speak about that, but I think there's a lot of resources out there, and getting the right medical, information from the right specialist.
Yes, absolutely. I know. I need to get better about that. I turned 45 last week.
you look great. So you got to tell everyone else your secrets now. I think we should.
Well, I do that on the podcast a lot, but I'm not, but yeah, but like, I'm like you, I don't wear makeup every day. And I absolutely do not sleep with makeup on. I think that is one hot tip for the ladies out there. Do not sleep with the makeup on.
Don't do it. It's just not worth it. I mean, it's not only are you getting your sheets dirty now, but it's just like, it all sinks into your pores and it's so much harder to get all of that out. Now we're dealing with more acne prone and all kinds of things. So it's just not worth it. And no matter how tired I am, that is the one thing I will do.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here.
No matter what.
Well, Dr. Shah, is there anything else you want to tell our audience about rheumatology, autoimmune, anything?
I just wanted to leave a reminder that there is no right or wrong age to see a rheumatologist. Don't ignore your symptoms. Don't let someone tell you you're too young to have joint pain. You're too young to be tired and ignore it. Really be in tune with your body, listen to your body. And if you don't think something is right, seek medical attention. And hopefully if it is a rheumatologist, we provide you with some insight and some comfort knowing, what we're able to help you diagnose.
I love it. Now, you're based in Tampa.
I am.
Is that right? Okay. How can people reach out to you? Do you do any virtual appointments?
I do virtuals if you're an established patient with me.
Okay.
If you're willing to make the drive, we can make it worth it for you. But other than that, I don't answer medical questions on my social media, but I definitely can help you direct if you should consider seeing a rheumatologist. But my social media, my Instagram is very active, which Dr. Monica, so I'm sure they'll link that. And then I try to put out as much medical knowledge and information on TikTok and other social media platforms. So hopefully you find it entertaining and informative. That's the goal here.
Yes. And she's beautiful. So you have to check her out. Thank you so much, Dr. Monica Shah. Thank you so much for being here on the Cinnamon Effect.
Absolutely. I hope everyone left with some good information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Cinnamon Effect. If you enjoyed our time together, don't forget to hit that follow button on your podcast app and sprinkle a little love by leaving us a 5-star rating and a quick review. Your support means the world to me. For even more goodness, check out the show notes where you'll find links to some of my favorite products. And don't forget to visit thecinnamoneffect.com to connect with me directly or to grab your TCE gratitude journal, your next step towards a more grateful life. I can't wait to spice things up with you again next time. Stay vibrant, stay inspired, and remember to add a little cinnamon to your life every day.